Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, we'll be talking about this snowstorm that is occurring across the Midwest. Already has started to wrap up across the Midwest, but it's just beginning across the Northeast. Definitely probably the largest one of the year for some locations, if not many. So we'll be talking about that. If you guys enjoy these videos, consider leaving a like, consider subscribing, check out my other videos and see if this is for you. Otherwise, any comments or concerns, leave them down below. Let's get right into this video. Okay, so let's start off by looking at the radar. Notice that obviously we have this snowstorm that we have been already tracking for the past couple of days. It started in the west, dumped a bunch of snow, now it has moved on to the east, and notice that across Chicago, Indiana, Ohio, the snow is still occurring. My location here got around 12 inches, maybe a bit over in some locations. Notice that, again, yeah, I mean, this thing is taking its sweet old time across northern Illinois and Indiana, central Illinois, southern Wisconsin, still dropping some of that light snow. That will continue to wrap up in the next few hours. Notice Ohio, right, still seeing some snow. Now it's starting to pivot into Kentucky. You could pick up a few inches, as well as northern and eastern portions of Tennessee. Notice this thing is now well into New York City. It is snowing. Same with Philadelphia. A lot of large metropolitan areas here into tonight and into tomorrow. This thing will just be an absolute frenzy of snow across the Northeast. And here across the Midwest, it snowed mostly from Saturday to Sunday, so that wasn't as bad. But into tomorrow morning, Monday's morning commute, it will be rough to say the least. And notice that snow has started and it won't stop across certain locations for a while. Okay, let's quickly take a look at total snowfall amounts that have fallen, right, just to get a scope of this system. Notice that across northeastern Illinois, especially southern Wisconsin, many locations did get over 13 inches. You can see 10 inches widespread. Some of these amounts still aren't updated. I know that they're still coming in. You can see the National Weather Service station is at 12.1. Portions of Iowa did get some decent snow, but the cutoff was a bit further to the east with the heavy snow, and that was kind of as expected. Notice it did get into southern Wisconsin, did cut off pretty far. Pretty light amounts to the north. There were some heavier amounts right by Lake Superior. Notice pretty good amounts right there. Northern Indiana definitely did get some snow. Southwestern Michigan got quite a bit as well. And then notice Indianapolis got 4 to 5 inches within a few hours yesterday in the evening. Columbus, not a bad event either. Notice Virginia, right, widespread 6-inch amounts, and this is just starting to add up here across DC, 3 to 4 inches. I'm expecting you guys will probably still pick up a bit more. And we already have some, 2 to 3 inch reports across New Jersey and Pennsylvania area, and that will continue to add up. Okay, so let's take a look at the simulated Futurecast and see what the whole deal is going to be with this system. I can't go into more of a specified region, as this model doesn't allow me to. It's a paid version that does that, but notice that, by the way, this is pivotal weather for those that are wondering. So notice that across Illinois, Indiana, right, this thing's going to wrap up in the next few hours. It's mostly done. Definitely a ton of snowfall. I'm telling you guys, those that are anticipating the storm across the Northeast, this is not fluffy snow. It did drift because the winds were really strong here, but the snow was just remarkably heavy, and it was tough to shovel, but it was fun for sure. 12 inches of snow almost here. That's pretty much a record for the. It's pretty much a record. Sorry about that. Pretty much a record in terms of snow for the past couple of years here in Chicago. Not a total record. There have been heavier events, obviously, but I think since 2015, 13, there haven't been that big events. All right, moving on. Notice that into Indiana, Ohio, it also starts wrapping up. New York City, Philadelphia, a lot of these locations could pick up over a foot of snow. In fact, New York City now is put at over 20 inches of snow, which isn't the heaviest snow they've ever gotten, but it's going to be up there definitely among the top 10, probably, if not the top 5. I don't exactly know which storms they had that were the biggest. Notice New Jersey, right? It's snowing right now, and notice this is hour by hour. This is at around 8 really more like 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the afternoon today. This is at around midnight today. Notice, I mean, New York City, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, continuing to see the snow, as really this precip that's falling right now is still kind of from this first system, right? But notice, there's our low pressure. It kind of falls apart, it gets weakened, gets sheared, and we have a new low pressure off the coast right there in that little circle. And notice that's what happens. We start seeing a lot of more moisture getting pumped in. The snowfall rates really picking up tomorrow, early morning hour, rush hour, Morning commute is going to be a nightmare for Long Island, New York City, Philadelphia, most of Pennsylvania, even into Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia. Obviously here there will be lighter snow, but you can see the winds are pretty sharp, so that's definitely something to be on a watch for. Notice Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, it's starting to plow into your area really at around before the lunchtime hour for sure. This is probably early to mid-morning at this point. Notice New Jersey, New York City, the rain snow line getting pretty close, but it mostly stays south of New York City. But unfortunately, southern New Jersey could see some more rain mixing in for the snow lovers there. That's an unfortunate one. Notice though, I mean, this has no shortage of moisture, and for some locations like New York City, you'll be in the snow for the next 24 hours, the heavy snow for the next 24 hours, and you can see Massachusetts, Providence, Rhode Island, into Hartford, Connecticut, southern New York, not really upstate areas are going to see the heaviest amounts of this. And then notice New York City still seeing light snow as of, let's say late Monday in the evening. Notice this is now moving up into Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, maybe a bit of mixing going on across the coastal areas of Boston. But for the most part, it should stay as a wet snow, especially if you're just north and west of the city. Notice New York City still seeing snow as of early Tuesday morning. So it's Sunday now, it's snowing, there's already 1 to 2 inch reports. It's going to continue to snow. This thing could be the biggest system of the past few years, definitely bigger for New York City than the one we had we had in early December. Notice into Vermont, New Hampshire, right, the snow moves into Maine, and this thing is still hanging around in the 51-hour mark of the RAP, which goes out to 51 hours. This is now early Wednesday, late Tuesday, early Wednesday, and we have our new storm system moving in. And it's still snowing potentially across New Jersey and into, obviously, Canada. It looks as if, especially the coastal areas, will start off as snow and get actually a few inches and then transition over to rain. As you can see, that pushes northward. And you can see that moisture just continues surging in there for a while. So just through the next 51 hours, let's take a look at this. Total snowfall, let's just assume a 10 to 1 because that's what most areas will be. Similar to, definitely not a really fluffy snow across New York City. This will be a pretty big nightmare for shoveling. So take it easy. That snow is always very hard to shovel, and it's bad on your back as well. Notice Kentucky. Speaking from experience here, we got the first half of the system here, and it was heavy. I mean, it's not dripping with water, but give it a few degrees warmer, and it will start turning into pretty much water. I mean, most snow would, but this one would be a bit more quicker. So notice that's into eastern Tennessee, Kentucky, especially Kentucky could pick up 3 to 4 inches. Further to the south, these amounts dwindle. Notice Columbus picking up potentially another 3 to 4 inches. Washington, D.C., this model shows you not picking up much more, but, into Delaware, quite a bit more snow could fall. Quite a bit. Just a bit more snow could fall, especially the northern tip. Right there, maybe up to 9 inches. And then notice, obviously, the large cities. Let's just take this through hour 51. New York City, it shows around 20 inches. That's what the National Weather Service thinks. Philadelphia, around 15. I think that's really what's going to be the case. I don't think you will get over 18 inches, or even maybe not even close. Notice southern New York, 14, 15 inches, and into Connecticut, a widespread, foot plus across these locations, and in some locations you can see maybe up to 24 inches plus 2 feet amounts. Maine, you can see a very good event. Let's take, so I showed you the timing of this system. I can show you what other models think of this system, right? So the GFS, let's just show you through Thursday when most of the snow will probably be done. Notice it does show really decent amounts and even show some pretty heavy ones across New Jersey. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of these rain snow areas either get a bit more rain, right? So the snow amounts cut off. But I would not be surprised whatsoever to see some of these amounts get quickly boosted by, say, the rain snow line getting a bit further to the south. I mean, the snow right at the rain snow line will be falling very heavily. We saw that across Indianapolis yesterday. Very, very heavy snowfall rates. They picked up, lots of snow, almost 6 inches in some locations within a matter of hours. And notice that could be the same thing for New York City and many cities around here, Hartford, right? Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., mainly done with this, Boston, and into Augusta, Bangor. A lot of these locations also picking up on that snowfall. I do want to show you that in the long range, things look active. And while the confidence is very uncertain, models are disagreeing quite a bit. They all do show some sort of systems tracking, and, they're all over the place. So GFS parallel, the better GFS model. Notice it agrees with the GFS and our wrap model, but it does show quite a bit of snow across some of these locations. I think that's a bit overdone, but maybe again a few locations over 2 feet is possible. And again, similar track, right? Puts a bit more into Ohio, and generally anywhere else it's the same. Canadian model GDPS. Let's take a glance at this model. This one's a bit older. It's from noon today, so it still shows a bit more snow across these locations than actually will fall. Notice it does advertise that extremely heavy snow for portions right there in New York City, just north. Again, I would not be surprised to see 24 inches plus, but as widespread as this would be a bit of a hard would be kind of hard to get. But you can see this one, the Canadian and RGEM, another high res, do bring in quite a bit of rain into Boston, showing on only 2 to 3 inches. I don't think that will be the case. I think that will be mostly snow. Obviously, by Cape Cod and Nantucket, those locations will be quickly seeing a downfall to possibly only 1 to 3 inches, especially across Nantucket. Notice Maine, right? This one again takes it further inland, not so close to the coast, more into Canada. Again, this is a pretty big outlier in that sense. RGEM, or yeah, let's take a look at the RDPS or RGEM, and this is again kind of a mimic of the Canadian on a more high-res scale. Notice it does bring it in just a bit closer, but the amounts are generally consistent. It does bring more snow to upstate New York, while some models don't advertise that as much. Though you could see that even Binghamton, Ithaca, Utica, all those locations could be picking up close to 6 inches. And generally, you can see the NAM does a pretty good job. Long Island, seeing 20 inches potentially. Very, very large system. And I'm just going through as many models as I can just so you can get a average look. I should have zoomed in on here, but honestly, I wanted you to see what's happening across Ohio, Indiana as well for those that live there. So this is the NAM, right? Again, I would say this is pretty accurate forecast. The NAM has done a pretty good job with this system. They're having a few flaws. The GFS definitely has done kind of the weakest job, and I think the European has done the best. So I thought I showed you this. Maybe I didn't. This is from noon, so again, a bit older information, but generally, still showing a foot plus across much of New Jersey. Philadelphia will be an area where there could be a sharp cutoff, or maybe not as sharp if things go snow favorable, if you will. Boston, you could see well under that 6 to 12 inch range, and into New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont, upstate New York, and into Canada, maybe even Quebec, picking up on some pretty decent amounts of snow. So that's the European. Just to show you, in the future, it does show quite a bit of snow, and actually does add on some other systems here. So that could definitely be an interesting scenario. All right, one more model I want to show you is a UK Met, United Kingdom Meteorological Bureau. I don't know. It's a British model. And notice what it does show is a bit more of a scattered, kind of those 12 plus inches. That 12 plus is a bit more scattered. Should have mentioned this earlier, but anywhere in that purple is 6 inches plus, and that darker blue is 3 inches plus. Again, this is from noon, so it's a bit older and still shows a bit more snow across these locations than it should, as that has fallen. Also keeps things active. There may be a brief warm-up this upcoming Thursday and Wednesday across the Midwest and Northeast, but that will be followed by potentially the coldest air of the season. So definitely be prepared for that. This snow may fall across New York, Pennsylvania, wherever. It may start melting even, but it's not going to be a thaw, really. Earlier, it was more of a concern that it could have been. The models have been trending towards definitely a colder scenario. Let's take a look at some of these cities. So look at that. We have a huge area of winter storm warnings up the East Coast. No blizzard warnings have been issued. That is fair, as a lot of the snow will be heavy and wet, so that will probably prevent any of the blowing. Notice the Chicago area is still under a bit of a winter storm warning. Light snow to moderate snow will still continue, but it's quickly dwindling. Probably a few more hours. Again, impressive what happened across these locations. Southern Wisconsin as well. Notice Ohio does have winter weather advisories. They're still seeing decent snow right now. Again, 2 to 3, 4 inches potentially. Notice we do have an area of winter storm watches right here. They're kind of uncertain, and you can see that they have the zone of greatest uncertainty. So they have a winter storm watch, but this cutoff may be way less sharp, or it could be quite a bit more kind of widespread, as they're showing right here. And or it could be something where these 18 to 24 inch amounts go all the way up to here, but anything past here, it's a sharp cutoff. Or again, something more like this, where it's more of a blurred out cutoff, if you will. So you can see right now they are obviously showing quite a bit of snow right across this area. Upstate New York, Syracuse 8 to 12, Hamilton 8 to 12. Honestly, that's a bit higher than I thought they were showing, but the system again has been a bit further to the north and kind of faster than expected. Though I still think that New York City, Long Island should be mainly snow. I want to show you, look at the expected snowfall they have for some of these locations, right? So let's take a look at this. This was made as of 2:33, so includes what has fallen already. Look at that, all snow. I mean, some of these locations will just get absolutely bombarded by snow. Further to the south, not as much. You could see more of a rain event. Philadelphia 8 to 12. Again, you could easily get into higher amounts, or just as easily get into the 4 to 6 range. Let's take a look at whole states. So probabilistic snowfall for New York. This is what we have as of 3:23 p.m. Eastern time. Notice, yeah, almost close to 2 feet of snow right there. Again, I fully expect there will be some amounts over 24 inches, but if this system, pushes a bit of warmer air further into, say, the kind of the Long Island, New York City area, these amounts may be a bit lighter towards the 18-inch range. Right, lighter in parentheses, still an absolute blockbuster. And some of these amounts maybe get some heavier amounts. We'll have to see. High end amount, if this overperforms, you could see it's not that much of a difference from the expected snowfall. So it's definitely a big event. This is for the whole state of, let's go to for a whole state of New Jersey. Expected snowfall. I mean, you can see this is a huge event. I think New York City could end up with around 20 inches, maybe 24. Based on what I'm seeing with this overperformance of the storm, I would say 24-inch amounts will be definitely possible, if maybe not widespread at that point. Maryland, expected additional snowfall. Notice decent amounts still, especially as you go towards the north and west. To the south and east, not so much. Delaware, from what has already fallen, notice Wilmington still could pick up to 6 inches. Further to the south, it really decreases quite quickly. Pennsylvania, as a whole state, notice what they have is quite a bit of that snow. State College, Williamsport, Towanda, decent snow, 8, 10, 15 inches, and getting very heavy as again, meets that New Jersey, southern New York area. You can see that this area across southern Pennsylvania, it doesn't show as a lot of snow. That may be the case. You can see this shows Philadelphia 6 inches. And it's kind of weird because this issue today shows 6 inches. And then the forecast of, say, let's go to where was I? The New Jersey probabilistic snowfall. It shows Philadelphia at, well in the 8 to 12 inch range. So I would say it's probably going to be closer to this, rather than what they're showing in that other graphic of Pennsylvania across the south. There definitely will be, I think, amounts reaching here potentially, well into the 6-inch plus range. That's probably an understatement. I showed you, okay, I think I showed you all the states I could here. This is Boston. Notice in terms of snowfall, yes, they are well into the inland or well to the coast. Even Plymouth potentially 7, 12, 14 inches. You can see a wide range, but generally a very good snowfall. Notice towards the coast, though, it does drop off pretty quickly. And some locations may not even be a snowstorm, more of a rain event. Now, this is for the state of Maine. Look at this. Very decent amounts of snow. While this isn't a blockbuster for your area, it's definitely decent amounts, to say the least. A foot of snow, of heavy, wet snow, it's a lot. It's a lot of precipitation, and it definitely will look like a lot, trust me. Speaking from experience, 10, 11 inches, what we've got was just remarkable to see, honestly. New Hampshire, in terms of snowfall, look at that. Not bad amounts, especially towards the coast. You can see the National Weather Service is not advertising towards what the Canadian or the RDPS model was showing, which was kind of bringing that rain snow line further to the north. It keeps it solid snow, and again, that's the trend for Maine as well. In fact, keeping some of these amounts heavier towards the coastal areas. Now, snow to liquid ratio, you can see that it will be rather wetter towards the south, and it will get more of a drier / more normal snow to the north. If it gets into that blue, it's considered dry snow. The red is very heavy wet snow. Green shading is normal snow, meaning around what you'd expect when you see snow. Kind of, you can make a snowball, but it may start falling apart, kind of that type of stuff. I do want to quickly go back to, say, weather.gov and show you, because I'm actually surprised that some of these amounts are pretty high for southern New York here. Across Binghamton, honestly, these amounts are relatively high. I want to See if I could go on Albany. Here we go. You have the whole Northeast right here. Notice, obviously centering across this area right here, just north of New York. Again, that could easily be shifted to the south. Very good event. Find your location, kind of pick it out. These locations are also, prone to potentially overperforming if the system slides a bit to the north, which, again, this system has thrown a few curveballs. The National Weather Service, even the day before our event across Chicago here, they showed 6 to 8, which is that range. And, there are many locations that are now getting into that 12 inches plus, and I mentioned that it would overperform, or they're undershowing the amounts with the National Weather Service. They may be doing the same stuff across the Northeast now. I'm assuming that they probably fixed that as they saw what happened here. But generally still, what they have right now is, I think, fairly decent representation of what will happen. In terms of the radar, I'm zooming in on Chicago areas. That's where this radar is responsible for. You can see that we have a ton of warnings watches. Let me turn those off if that's kind of too much to look at. Notice that over the past 6 hours, this is all the way back from 11:55 in the morning, 12:55 in the Eastern time zone. Notice that the snow across Illinois has hung on for a while. It's kind of impressive to see that. Ohio, Indiana, same thing. It's now starting to pivot into Kentucky. Look at that. It has moved into New York City, right into much of Philadelphia. Philadelphia has been under the snow for a while, ever since the early morning hours. And, these snowfall rates will continue to increase as we have an ample supply of moisture to the south. Washington, D.C. has been getting quite a bit of snowfall. Maryland, southern Pennsylvania. Again, you can see it's stretching pretty far already into upstate New York, which I think those areas are going to overperform at least slightly. And notice that's what happens. Pittsburgh, you can see some decent snow right now as we have this green precipitation in the form of rain kind of feeding in the dying elements of that old low pressure. And here we have that new low pressure that's going to form. So that is basically it. I just wanted to go over this again. A very heavy snowfall is on its way. This is for sure going to be a very large event. Again, if you were to look at the warnings, I could just turn them back on just to show you. New York City, they're calling for 16 to 22 inches, which is just a beast of an amount of snow. This won't be light, fluffy snow, which sometimes happens with nor'easters. It will be a wet, heavy snow. You can see 7 to 15 across Boston. Philadelphia right there, 14 to 20 inches. Augusta into portions of Maine, 6 to 12. So again, it's peaking at around the northern New Jersey area, 16 to 24. Wind gusting as high as 35 miles per hour. Probably some blizzard conditions, but not an overall blizzard as a storm system. Notice that just east of Toronto, quite a bit west of Toronto, they do have a blowing snow advisory. As again, these winds will be pretty impactful. These areas across the Chicagoland area, really not that much more snow is expected. You could see storm total 8 to 12, right? And they were calling for 5 to 9. And again, I just knew that was going to be an underestimate. And just watching that storm system come in, I'm assuming that these are accurate, these amounts here. But, 16 to 24 is already a huge amount, and it's hard to see that it would go over. But honestly, with the length of the system that it will be occurring at, I think some locations could get well over 24 inches. And notice that into Kentucky, 1 to 3 inches, right? Northern Tennessee, 1 to 2 inches. And here, just south of Washington, D.C., I think it's just calling for, light rain, light freezing rain drizzle. These areas are still under winter storm watch. They're kind of uncertain. That's why it's still a watch, not a warning. Notice New Hampshire, 6 to 12 inches, right? Vermont, especially southern Vermont, still picking up a gracious amount of snow. Further to the north, obviously, Burlington, for example, lighter amounts, but still 4 to 10 inches, which, for an advisory, that's definitely the upper scale of things. Notice they do have watches here as they're a bit uncertain, whether or not that mixing will occur. They're still showing 4 to 7 inches with a bit sleet accumulations of 1 inch, which is quite a bit of sleet, to be honest. An inch of sleet's a lot. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Consider liking the video. Consider subscribing to the channel. And I will catch you all, guys, on the next episode. See ya.